Let's go back to 2011. Fellas in Paris was released, I sported a bowl cut, and Montana State University released a climate action plan. This plan was designed to become a net zero emissions university, and it wanted to, by quoting, by setting a strong example through tangible progress towards net zero greenhouse gases operations.
10 years later.
Now we have a robust recycling system. Nice. We also pioneered geothermal wells that power buildings. Cool. But there's an elephant in the room. It was not mentioned except for a small, tiny paragraph at the bottom of the climate plan, and it was the MSU endowment. The endowment is a large pool of money, largely comprised from donations and fundraising, that adds to the budget of MSU in order to pay for new buildings, for example. And this was largely controversial because much of those investments were invested in fossil fuels. So, in a sense, we were paying for new green buildings, but they were tainted by the profits of a non-green business. A lot of us were confused or conflicted about how to feel about this, so there's been an effort on campus to divest MSU from fossil fuel industries. This has been an ongoing battle since 2016. And if you're wondering what MSU is exactly invested in, which companies, now that's a good question. We don't exactly know what is in the MSU endowment, as they are as transparent as a cardboard box. However, I did find this investment policy contained in it. It was a sort of asset class allocation range and benchmarks. I didn't know what this meant at the time, but what I have come to discover is that it was actually just a way that they measure their performance. So basically, for a portion of their portfolio, they use an oil and gas coal index fund to measure how they are doing. Wanting to ask about what all do they have, I decided to try to reach out to MSU. And so begins my quest for transparency. Now, I called the Alumni Foundation looking to see what they are exactly invested in, so I wish to speak to the CEO, or frankly anyone who can maybe talk with me on Zoom for 5-10 minutes. And the executive assistant told me the CEO was out of town for an entire week, and the executive assistant knew absolutely no one who could help me out with that question. The Alumni Foundation was invited to the Bill McKibben special lecture, as well as we were, and they chose not to attend because it said the CEO said that it would disrupt the work they've been doing since November. They could not listen to students express their opinions because it would disrupt their work. My freshman year, I was told that President Cruzado had an open door policy where any student can come in with questions or concerns. And so I went to Montana Hall to ask her opinion on everything with the whole endowment. And unfortunately, her open door was shut to me for the week, and she could not meet with me via Zoom or in person, which was unfortunate because I really wanted to hear what President Cruzado had to say about it. I interviewed Atticus Cumming, who's a junior majoring in directed interdisciplinary studies with focuses in chemical and biological engineering, architecture, and sociology. He's an ASMSU senator at large, and he helped form the Campus Climate Coalition in 2020. While I did have the pleasure of talking to him for about 30 minutes, which did give me a big idea about what's going on in this whole deal, I unfortunately, due to the time constraints, had to cut out a lot of it, so I really tried not to take him out of context, but if there are any questions or you'd like to see the full 25-minute, 30-minute interview, just let me know. What's the next step for you and or the group in trying to get the Alumni Foundation, get the whole university system to divest from fossil fuel companies?
Our next step at that point is making sure that we continue to have students in a dialogue with the foundation to be like, and make sure that the foundation continues to stay transparent with us about how they're doing this, how they're making progress, what are they doing. That's something they have said is very important to them, so we're pretty confident we can work with them to, have, once or twice a year, like they come and whether it's like electricities or whether it's they come and just set up shop in the sub for a couple days and just like put it out there, like this is what we're doing, full disclosure. So we like to make sure that there's a continuing dialogue and that they don't, say, this is what we're doing, and shut the door. We like to make sure that there's transparency.
And the entire portfolio is approximately worth $225 million.
Yeah.
Is that about correct?
Yes, I believe so.
I don't know if $225 million will be enough, especially if fractions of that or smaller percentages of that is invested in fossil fuel companies. Is this more of an actual direct action you want these things to change, or is it more of a message you want to send these fossil fuel companies?
Because you're absolutely right. Like 200 and however many $million, that's a lot of money to a college student like you or I. But in the grand scheme of, like billion-dollar oil companies, it's a drop in the bucket. Where the rubber really will meet the road, where the biggest impact that I see will have, will be here at home in Montana. And thinking about Montana is beginning to see the effects of climate change through wildfires, through, less snowpack at Bridger, through warmer winters, through smoke in the summer. One of the purviews of universities is to be thought leaders in their communities. And MSU's community is the state of Montana.
By any stretch of the imagination, I'm not a climate activist. I support the extraction, refinement, and burning of whatever's underground. But MSU will never let you forget how they are a land-grant university and they strive to be stewards of the land and protect the land. And they have this long plan since 2011 to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions. Then why are we invested in fossil fuel industries? It's completely hypocritical. Why would people like myself, family, and other people in Colstrip believe the academics and science that tells us that we need to stop burning when MSU can't even get their hands out of the pockets of Exxon, Shell, and BP? Be the example, the strong example that you wanted to set in 2011. If MSU could truly not survive financially from fossil fuels, then why don't you make a plan like you did in 2011 to create a diverse, profitable, and sustainable endowment? Be transparent with what we're invested in and what we stand to lose if we were to divest. Thank you for Atticus for interviewing, and thank you for watching.